So right now I'm in Glasgow for the COP26 Climate Conference, and earlier we asked you, the newsroom viewers, to send in your questions for the BBC's science and environmental correspondent Victoria Gill so that she can debunk some myths and hopefully give us some insight into what's been going on. Now, Strictly Fan 13 asks, will experts be listening to children's views about everything and taking on their ideas? And Davies asks, will kids' voices be heard during COP26? Victoria, are children and young people being listened to when it comes to the issue of climate change?
I think this has been a sort of point of real frustration for children and young people over the years. You know, the street protests that we've seen, the Friday protests and the school strikes have really shown that. And this year, there are youth delegates, there are young people who are an official part of this UN process. So about a month before this event, there was what's called Youth COP. At that event, there were actually young people who brought forward their official proposals to make it part of these discussions. So this year, really for the first time, young people have had an official role.
Okay, let's move on. We've also had quite a few questions about fossil fuels, Victoria. Wild Milo 2024 asks, why can't we just not use fossil fuels? They're bad for the planet. And another news rounder asks, is there something that can replace fossil fuels so that we don't have to use them anymore?
That is what this whole process is trying to solve. It's trying to get away from burning fossil fuels, which generates a lot of heat, and we use that energy to basically give us power, to give us our electricity to supply, to keep the lights on. And because that's something that we started doing a long time ago, it's sort of this very established foundation of how we keep things moving and how we keep the lights on. And yes, there are technologies now that are much more sustainable. We can use wind turbines, and that movement energy can be converted into power. We can use solar panels, so we can use the power from the sun. But there are a lot of countries that haven't had the time to be able to develop and spend money on those technologies and turn away from fossil fuels. So that's what's a big part of this whole COP process, is actually asking richer countries to invest and give money to the poorer countries so that they can develop all of that really clean technology and do exactly what your viewers are asking for there, turn us away from fossil fuels and generate our energy in a much cleaner way.
Superdude asks, what do we expect to happen in the future? One news rounder asks, do you think in the future the planet will be destroyed if we don't act now? And Adorable Sloth asks, if nothing is done at COP26, what will our future be like now?
You know, science and technology that's what's paving the way to give us renewable energy, cleaner energy, and also even technologies that can actually remove carbon, remove some of those greenhouse gases, planet warming gases from the atmosphere. But the key thing is we know how to solve it. Scientists know that if we balance out the amount of greenhouse gas we're emitting with the amount that we're locking away, either naturally in forests and in wetlands and peatlands and these natural, they call them carbon sinks, these places where you lock that down, if we can get that all back in balance, then we can solve this problem. So every little action and doing your own part to kind of rebalance that whole system, it all helps.
Now, a big term that's used a lot when it comes to climate change is climate anxiety. Now, as the BBC science and environmental correspondent, you speak to a lot of experts, a lot of people who are doing their bit to sort of make sure that climate change is reversed. What's your thoughts on climate anxiety and how a lot of young people and adults are feeling?
I think the antidote to all of that anxiety is to act. So, do your bit to be more sustainable. Maybe kind of buy less new clothes, waste less food, like figure out how to recycle things well, just kind of have that little bit more of a sustainable impact rather than an unsustainable impact on the planet. And, join a local group in your community that tries to kind of raise that message about the impact that we have on the planet. I think, if you feel like you're acting and you're doing something good and useful, that's something that will really help ease that anxiety, and also it'll help the planet too.